While the world was distracted by domestic political squabbles and the endless cycle of the news industry, a seismic shift in global power occurred in the blink of an eye. The USS Gerald R. absolute pinnacle of our naval engineering, has just decimated 9 Iranian naval vessels in a matter of seconds. I am Pete Hegseth, United States Secretary of War, and we are now forced to confront the reality that what we are witnessing is not merely a military skirmish, it is a fundamental reconfiguration of the geopolitical landscape that threatens to change how we all experience freedom and security forever. We are at a turning point in history, and we must understand that the ground is shifting beneath our feet. Let us explain what is really happening here, because we know the mainstream media is not giving us the full picture. Most people do not realize that the deployment of the Ford, the most technologically advanced aircraft carrier in human history, to the region was not a routine exercise. It was a calculated, lethal response that we authorized to counter the escalating threats posed by the Iranian regime. When we talk about these 9 ships, we are not talking about small, inconsequential skiffs. We are talking about critical assets in the Iranian naval fleet, including advanced patrol vessels that we neutralized before they could pose a threat to our democratic interests. We had to act, and we acted with absolute, overwhelming force. But it gets worse, and we must acknowledge the gravity of this moment. The destruction of these vessels, synchronized with strikes on specific naval infrastructure, was a demonstration of absolute technological dominance that we orchestrated to protect our sphere of influence. Here is where things get really interesting, and where we need to pay close attention. This was not a chaotic battle. It was a highly orchestrated, multi-domain integration of carrier-based aviation, precision fires, and intelligence networks that allowed us to strike multiple targets near simultaneously. And that is not even the disturbing part. The disturbing part is that we are now fully engaged in a high-intensity conflict that is affecting global energy prices and regional stability in ways that will inevitably land on our own doorsteps. Now, this is where it all connects. Think about what this actually means for our daily lives. We are talking about the potential for massive disruptions in the critical maritime gateways through which a staggering percentage of the world's seaborne oil passes. When we see the price of fuel spike or our supply chains seize up, we must understand that is not happening in a vacuum. It is happening because of these very decisions we have made. This is not some distant theory. This is a documented, active reality. As we operate from the highest levels of government, we must emphasize that the stakes have never been higher. We are operating in a new era of warfare where the line between peace and total conflict has effectively dissolved. We need to look at the timeline. For months, we have watched the IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, expand their reach, emboldened by a belief that our resolve was waning. On February 12, 2026, our intelligence indicated a critical uptick in hostile maritime posturing near the Strait of Hormuz. We did not sit idly by. We accelerated the operational readiness of the Ford Carrier Strike Group, a $13 billion behemoth that represents the very best of American ingenuity. On March 4, 2026, when those vessels crossed the line of established engagement, we did not hesitate. We authorized the strike. 9 vessels gone in seconds. It was not a warning, it was a total tactical dismissal of their naval capability in the region. But we have to look deeper. Why now? Why this escalation? It is not just about these 9 ships. It is about a much larger struggle for the control of global corridors. We are seeing a concerted effort by state actors to challenge the democratic order, and we are pushing back with every ounce of our industrial and military might. When we discuss the cost of these munitions precision-guided missiles, electronic warfare suites, and the operational hours of the strike group, we are talking about billions of dollars in federal resources. This is money that comes out of our economy, out of our infrastructure budgets, and out of our collective future. We must ask ourselves if this is the path we want to take, or if we are being forced onto a road we did not choose. The implications are terrifying. As we watch the geopolitical dominoes fall, we have to consider the impact on our digital and economic sovereignty. When we engage in such high-stakes military action, we invite retaliatory cyber attacks on our own critical infrastructure. We are talking about our power grids, our financial systems, and the very data that governs our lives. We are more connected than we have ever been, and that connectivity is our greatest vulnerability. The technology we use to secure our freedom can just as easily be used to monitor, control, or disrupt it. We are living in a fishbowl where every action we take globally has an immediate, direct reaction in our own living rooms. We must also talk about the power structures involved. It is not just the military, it is the contractors, the intelligence agencies, and the vast bureaucratic apparatus that thrives on this permanent state of conflict. We see the flow of contracts, the lobbying efforts, and the political maneuvering that keeps the machinery of war churning. We have to be honest about the incentives that drive these conflicts. Is this purely about security, or is it about maintaining a specific type of global order that benefits a very select few? We are being told to fear external enemies, but we must also be vigilant about the internal pressures that benefit from our fear. This is where it gets concerning. Look at the patterns. We see the same language used to justify intervention today as we have seen for decades. We see the same buildups, the same rhetoric about protecting our interests, and the same tragic outcomes for the people involved. We are repeating history, but with higher stakes and more dangerous technology. We have to break this cycle. We have to demand transparency, and we have to demand a clear strategy that does not involve endless, escalating wars that drain our resources and endanger our citizens. Think about the human cost. Behind every ship we sink, there are families. Behind every decision we make, there are consequences that ripple across the globe. We are not playing a video game. These are real lives, real economies, and a real future that hangs in the balance. We have to maintain our humanity, even while we project our power. We have to ensure that we are not becoming the very things we claim to be fighting against. We are a nation built on principles of justice and liberty, and we must ensure that our military actions reflect those values, not just our capacity for destruction. The question is not if this will affect us, but rather when the consequences of this strategic escalation will manifest in our local economies and our personal security. We are navigating a trajectory that demands absolute vigilance from every citizen. While we focus on the raw power of the Ford today, we must ask ourselves, who is really in control of this escalation, and what is the ultimate price we are willing to pay for? This level of global dominance? And this is just what we know about publicly. There is a much larger, darker picture unfolding behind the scenes that should concern every single American who values our way of life. We are watching the future of global order being written in real time, and we cannot afford to look away from what we have set in motion. We must demand accountability. We must demand to know who is profiting from this instability. We must demand that our leaders act with restraint and wisdom, not just with the brute force of our military might. We are at a crossroads, and the choice we make today will define the next century of our existence. Will we choose the path of endless conflict, or will we find a way to forge a new kind of stability that does not rely on the constant threat of total war? We have the power, we have the resources, and we have the intelligence. Now we need the courage to change our course. We must also recognize that we are not just citizens of a country, we are members of a global community. When we act with such force, we send a message to the rest of the world about who we are and what we stand for. Do we want to be known as the nation that dominates through destruction, or do we want to be known as the nation that leads through diplomacy, innovation, and shared prosperity? The choice is ours, but it is a choice we have to make every single day. We cannot be passive observers in our own history. We have to be active participants. The information we are getting is limited, and that should worry us. We are being fed a curated narrative that justifies the actions of our government without questioning the long-term impact of those actions. We need to look past the headlines. We need to ask the difficult questions. We need to hold our leaders accountable for every decision they make in our name. We are the ones who pay the price for these wars, both in our tax dollars and in the lives of our fellow citizens. We owe it to ourselves to be informed, to be engaged, and to be brave enough to challenge the status quo. As we move forward, we will see more of these events. We will see more escalations, more threats, and more calls for us to rally behind our military actions. We must be prepared to look at these events with a critical eye. We must be prepared to see the connections that the powers that be would rather we ignored. We are a powerful nation, but that power comes with a responsibility that we have too often neglected. We need to reclaim that responsibility, and we need to use it to create a world that is safer, more just, and more prosperous for everyone. The journey ahead is fraught with danger, but it is also full of opportunity. If we can come together as a nation to demand a different kind of leadership, a different kind of foreign policy, and a different kind of future, we can change the course of history. We are not powerless. We are not just subjects of a global chess game. We are the people, and it is our voices, our choices, and our values that should guide the direction of our nation. We cannot let ourselves be distracted by the noise. We must focus on the truth. We must demand transparency, and we must never stop fighting for the freedom that we hold so dear. Let us close with this thought. We are currently in the most perilous time for our democracy in generations. The decisions being made right now are not just military decisions, they are decisions about the kind of country we want to be. We are being asked to trade our security for our liberty, and we must be very careful about the price we are paying. We are stronger together, but only if we are informed, united, and committed to the truth. We are watching the future unfold, and we have the power to shape it. Let us choose wisely, let us act with integrity, and let us ensure that the future we are building is one that we are proud to pass on to the next generation. We have witnessed the raw power of the USS Gerald R, and we have seen the devastating potential of our military capabilities. Now, we must ask ourselves what we intend to do with that power. We have the potential to bring about a new era of peace and stability, or we can continue down the path of escalation and conflict. The choice is ours. We have the ability to change, we have the wisdom to learn, and we have the capacity to act. Let us move forward with a commitment to a better future, a future where we're defined by our values, not by our wars. This is not just a call to awareness, it is a call to action. We must stand together, we must remain vigilant, and we must never forget that the power ultimately lies in our hands. The story of our nation is still being written, and we are the authors. Let us write a chapter that we can be proud of, a chapter that speaks to our commitment to freedom, justice, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The road ahead is not easy, but it is the road we must travel together. For the sake of our country, for the sake of our freedom, and for the sake of our future. We are ready, and we are watching.